I'm Buddy Martin. This is the Buddy Martin Show. It's a Thursday night edition as we wrap up the holiday and get ready for 4th of July. Yes, that's right. My favorite graphic of the weekend in Twitter was one of George Washington riding on his horse and saying, uh, "Have a good day working today, England." You get the idea. They don't have a 4th of July in England. Did you know that? You probably did. As I think about it, there's a lot we don't know about our country, about history, about fact. I'm just reading a story about 1941 and Hitler betraying Stalin and going into his deadly invasion to Russia with 3 million troops. Wow. Goodness gracious. And then that was a bloody ending and ended up Hitler getting defeated by Stalin. That was the beginning of his end, thank goodness. Anyway, I sort of digress here on a sports program. We're going to get right with Franz in a moment. I want to check the progress of his book, how things are going with him. Obviously, basketball. And it appears to be, from all angles, a pretty good recruiting season for Florida right now. Although that's hard to measure. I know Georgia's been mopping up lately, but boy, they signed a huge defensive player from Fort Myers, which will be up half the defense in 2006. We'll talk about that, other things as well, with Franz Beard, the Duke, the Iron Duke, coming up next right here on the Buddy Martin Show, plus Lawrence Meadows. And give us some comments. We may start taking telephone calls in this program one day if you'd like. Wouldn't that be fun? Meanwhile, stand by. The Buddy Martin Show is on the air.
Yes, it's time again for Buddy Martin. Call him up and tell him what you're thinking. But be kind because he's doing the best he can.
Better, stronger, faster.
Mama says that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
Hey, what if the voice calls while you're gone?
Take a message.
Bye!
You ready, champ?
I'm ready for this my whole life.
I'm incapable of small talk. But that's why you love me, right?
Kind of intimidating to be in the presence of so many great athletes.
Good evening to you out there, Gator folks, and Franz Beard joins the program now. We'll be talking to Franz the next few minutes and getting his take. Hope you got a good holiday plan. What do you do for 4th of July? I mean, why would you want to go out in 102-degree weather and turn on a barbecue pit and cook hamburgers or hot dogs or whatever you cook for 4th of July? Well, some people do. Tomorrow I'm going to go over to my stepson's house. I'm going to have pizza ordered in. Okay, that's my kind of holiday. Although there are times when you like to cook out, and I would imagine even Franz Beard has done it a few times. But I'm guessing he won't be doing it this weekend. Am I correct, Francis?
Well, I've got a little. I'm going to do a little cooking. I've got some pork shoulder steaks that really, really grill well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Is that your go-to barbecue, pork shoulder?
Boston butt. I do Boston butt, but for grilling, pork shoulder. Yeah.
Yeah. Didn't know you were a griller. Yeah. So I've given up my grilling over the days. Dawn won't let me do it here because I've not set the place on fire. But
I got a problem here in that when I'm grilling, I got to stand there and watch. I'm outside because we have 2 golden-tailed hawks, a mother and her son, who live in a tree just above my condo here. Mm-hmm. And trust me, baby baby has been, every time I'm outside grilling, I'm getting into a stare down with him, and it's kind of funny because I know that good and well, if I turn my back on him, he's going to swoop down and
Get
grab
that
whatever.
snake and go, right?
You
Exactly.
got it. You got it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, boy, it's wonderful to have birds. I'm living on the ocean, and I think you can see part of it about behind me here. I'm not sure. It's getting to be dark now. Anyway, on the bay, and we have a lot of birds, but we have them at different times of the year. And at one point, a year or so ago, we were having like thousands of birds out here, including pelicans, including you name every seabird in the world. And it was just amazing the number of birds we had here. And then one day they disappeared and they haven't come back. And I can't figure out why. But it's a beautiful place. It's beautiful to have. I've lived in places like my house in Ocala where we had lots and lots of birds, especially cardinals and what have you. Even occasionally a hummingbird would come by, drop in, and we had feeders up and what have you. But just love the birds, love the outdoors, and love nature in that regard. We get to see some of it. So, all right. So, Francis, as we switch from nature to sports, I'll give you your choice. All right. Tonight's question on the floor is: given that he has so little playing experience, do you find it unusual that Arch Manning is above leading every quarterback poll in the SEC as the best player, and in many of those polls, in the national polls, he's leading too, and in the SEC polls, it's Garrett Nussmeier and DJ Lagway, and there's someplace, but even the national polls, Manning. It's hard to realize that Manning has actually been there 2 years. Can we think of him as not playing? For a guy who's played little or none for 2 years, do you think he can just step up and step in? Now, look, I'm really high on Arch Manning. What I've seen of him, he's a gifted player, and he's got talent galore, both as a runner and a passer. He's playing in what should be a good system with a lot of good players. I saw a story yesterday, 7 All-Americans preseason on Texas's team, 7. And he's got what they consider to be one of the great offensive minds, and Sarkisian, etc. The question is, and then Coach Spurrier even asked it, remember? They said, how come if he was the best quarterback, he wasn't playing? And that we got into that. And I noticed that Cam Newton had responded to that tonight. So we can talk about that. We can talk about your basketball book coming up here soon. We should talk about it. We'll talk about the Heisman Trophy odds. I got the latest one from Circa Sports today. And then we'll talk about who's in net, et cetera, et cetera. So or we'll talk about the latest poll on, I don't know this person, Chris Phillips, toughest places to play and what the swamp ranks. So it's holiday week. You get to pick, Franz.
Well, let's start with Arch Manning, and I can tell you why he's so highly regarded. And that the question is this: have you known a Manning quarterback that wasn't any good?
No, I have not. Of course, there hasn't been one. So that's the point you're making.
That's my point. Is until he goes out there and bombs, we gotta. I think the expectation is that he's just a chip off the old block. He's just the latest in a really, really nice. Let's just say none of his genes drowned in the pool. We assume that anyway. And from what we've seen, but from what little we've seen, he really is gifted, just like his two uncles, and of course I feel bad for the people, unlike you and me, who got to see Archie when Archie was really good. Most people only see what Archie did with the Aints, and I call them the Aints because they were. I've never seen a team with such a penchant for doing the wrong thing as New Orleans was during Archie's career there. And I give him credit for being so daggum loyal. Had there been free agency, even with that, I'm not sure he would have left New Orleans because he was so loyal. And that's just his nature. As he's become an elder statesman for all of college football, there's so much more to like about Archie than there ever was Archie the player. And Archie the player was unbelievable. Bear Bryant said that what he did against Alabama, I think it was in 1968, was the greatest performance by any quarterback he ever saw. And Bear had a pretty good eye for those kind of things back in his day. So we're assuming that the gene pool lives on in Arch. And I guess until proven otherwise, we're going to have to expect it. But I got to tell you what, September 27, I think is going to be the quarterback showdown of the year, maybe of the decade, when we have Arch Manning going against DJ Lagway. And I think that's going
October 4th.
Is that October 4th? I thought it was September 27th.
No, October 4th.
Okay, so I got my dates mixed up. So sue me.
No.
Okay.
Sorry.
But October 4th in the Swamp, I think that may end up being the quarterback showdown of this
Could be.
of this century, buddy.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you what, I have friends that I have these friends that were out in San Francisco when I was out there when the Gators were playing in the Elite Eight, and they fly in every year. They pick out one regional to go to, and then they go to the Final Four. But they were telling me that back in San Francisco, and this is back in March, that the cheapest tickets they could find anywhere for Florida, Texas was $1,000 a piece.
Really? I haven't checked them lately, but I think I could beat that. Some of our people are here now, Perry Mason, so I can look them up real quick on one of the ticket sites and see what they're going for. But it is going to be the highest priced ticket probably we could have ever seen in Florida, and without question. And I was wrong. I've been saying for a long time that Florida, this will be Texas's first trip to the Swamp. Well, it will be their first trip to the Swamp, but they apparently have been here once before. I didn't remember it, and they were here in 1940. They played 1940.
You weren't there? You weren't.
I was. I didn't go to the game. I was there. Yeah. Yeah. So that's what they told me.
People ask me. People who know that Van Sickle, Dale Van Sickle is in my family tree. People ask me what it was like to see him, and I say,
there you go. There you go.
I say, gosh, that was just slightly ahead of my time.
I would have been honored to see him play. I think if what I hear, he's a great player. So what we hear, we'll never know. We'll never know except what we see in videos. So all right. So let me get back to your point real quick on Arch. Here's the thing, and I read this a couple of days ago, and I had it in my column. The fact is, if you follow it closely, that really Arch's uncles have had almost nothing to do with him. They didn't come see him play, and this is Cooper talking about it. And by the way, also his uncles. They didn't know him all that well. They did not influence his play that much. As a matter of fact, when Peyton was talking about it, he said, his mother was a great athlete. She was a great high jumper and track athlete, and he gets his speed apparently from his mother. So even though he has the great genes, the fact is that he didn't, and he hasn't been around him except for a couple of times. I think his dad Cooper said 5 times a year. Once at Mardi Gras, once at the Manning Pass Academy, holiday, whatever. So he had that much exposure to his uncles. Although we tend to think of, as you said, have you ever seen a bad Manning quarterback? And the answer is no, have not. But I thought that was very interesting. And I read a couple of things about it. Here's what Peyton said about Archie. I just read this, and it's in my column today. It says, he's been patient, Peyton said. I'm such a believer in mastering the system that you're in. And when you have a new coordinator every year in the NFL or college, that's just frustrating to me. He said, the fact that Coach Sarkisian calls the plays and Arch has been there 2 years. Got to remember, you forget he's been there 2 years. Has been there 2 years and knows the system. He's going to have a huge advantage for him. He says, I'm looking forward to seeing him getting out there in the field. He's worked real hard. Now, this is what Peyton said. The moxie, that was his dad, Peyton said. Cooper was a cocky wide receiver that was open, quote unquote, every time in the huddle. If you can imagine, I think my sophomore year of high school, Cooper was a senior. I completed 120 passes. I think 90 of them were to my brother. He would like to have had 120. He said, that little swagger comes from his dad. So taking no credit for them, although I'm sure it's all in the genes, the fact is that they didn't influence him that much, apparently, Franz.
Well, I think that's part of who Archie is. And Archie has made sure that even among Peyton and Eli, Archie and Olivia made sure that they grew up their own guy. For example, Peyton went to school at Tennessee. Eli went to school at Ole Miss. Followed in Dad's footsteps. Of course, Cooper went to Ole Miss too. But it goes to show you the fact that Cooper went to Ole Miss, Eli went to Ole Miss, Archie went to Ole Miss, Arch goes to Texas. It just goes to show how the family has been raised, and I give Archie and Olivia just tremendous credit.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of Gator fans. We like to point out that Peyton was 0-4 against the Gators, which is true.
Mm-hmm.
They like to point out the fact that Peyton became the all-time greatest quarterback in Citrus Bowl history because that's where they went every year.
Yeah.
that Spurrier was here. I know we like to point that out, but here's the thing. These kids were raised well. They were raised to be competitive. They were raised to be gentlemen. Peyton, I got to tell you, what a goofball who makes great commercials. Something that we never saw when he was at Tennessee, but as he's turned out, what an absolute goofball who makes tremendous commercials.
Yes,
those
he
ones
does.
he's done for Nationwide are some of them are hysterical. And he and Eli have done them too. So, but the boys were raised to be individuals, all three of them, for example, and that's a credit to the parents. And you look at how they've conducted themselves, how they've been philanthropic. Both Peyton and Eli have given so much to charity, just as Archie and Olivia have, and I expect Arch is going to do the same thing. I know I sound like a sounding board, an advertisement for Arch Manning, but what I'm saying is that when kids are raised right, you get stuff like this.
Well, I think we could honestly, excuse me if I interrupt you, you're right. And I think we could easily make a case for the Mannings being America's first family of football. When you count everything, 3 generations, what they've done, the kind of people that they are, and how they play and how they conduct themselves. As you say, beyond just business, that they're so creative in what they do. I think we can say that. Whether you like Tennessee or like Ole Miss or you don't like Mannings, you got to respect them. I think they've done a phenomenal job. And I think they've set a nice bar for others to follow. So,
well, here's something else too. that you can make a case for. And that's for DJ Lagway's dad, raising that young man to be the right kind of guy.
Yeah.
You know, you could say that he's doing to DJ the way that Archie did to Peyton and to Eli. He's raised him the right way. He's had enough hands on to help, but enough hands off to let him be his own man. The perfect example being, look what he did. He's got all this NIL money doing. So what does he do? He endows scholarships for women's sports.
Yeah.
My gosh, you know, don't you wish more athletes who are raking in these big bucks in NIL money? Don't you wish more of them had that kind of dedication, pride in their? What does that say about being a Gator? That the quarterback for the Gators invests in the women's sports program like that.
Yeah.
My gosh, I can't tell you how impressed I am. As impressive as Arch Manning is, he's no more impressive to me than DJ Lagway. And
Well, it brings up an interesting point. I'm sorry for interrupting you, which I was going to get to next. If you really want to be honest about it and forget about your loyalty to which team, if you had the opportunity to trade DJ Lagway straight up for Arch Manning, and it's easy to say no, but if you think about a neutral party, you think, well, look, this guy could be the greatest quarterback of all time, et cetera, et cetera. Would you do it? Would you trade one for the other? Now, Gator fans are probably going to go down the line 90% and say no. But if you're really a football judge of football talent, you have to at least think about it. What would it be like to have a guy like Arch Manning on your team? I could make a case for it. Say, but
well, you can until one thing, buddy.
Well, let me finish, and I say I could make a case for it, but here's the one reason I wouldn't, because the team we have now was partially built by DJ Lagway and attracted and recruited his team. And this is, ever you say it's his team, this is DJ Lagway's team. Now, maybe it's Arch Manning's team too. I don't know. And I think the talent level is yet to be determined. Because look, Arch has only played in 2 seasons and a few games. So we don't, and really, DJ Lagway's got about much playing time or maybe more than Arch Manning does, and he has built his team. So, from the standpoint of to follow up on your point, being the kind of young man he is, raising money for women's sports, helping recruit other players. I'm sure he's had many opportunities to leave for more money. I'm sure. If Sellers Norris Sellers can get $8 million, which I don't believe he did, but offered and turned it down. What's DJ Lagway worth? $15 million? I mean, my
Georgia
gosh.
offered him 12. Georgia offered him $12 million. That's a fact.
Yeah,
I mean, they can deny it all day long, but I know for a fact they offered him $12 million, and he stayed where he is. Mm-hmm. Now, here's why. You make salient points, but here's why I would take DJ Lagway. You're going to love the answer. Right now, DJ Lagway is going to be at Florida 2 more years. Arch Manning, my guess, will only be at Texas this year. He'll graduate in the spring next year, so he'll be a graduate already of the University of Texas. He'll have his degree. He will have been, he's a Manning. Now, he may do like Peyton and Eli, stay all 4 years. More power to him if he does. But right now, to me, it's 3 years of a starting quarterback versus, 2 more years of a starting quarterback versus 1 year for Arch as a starting quarterback.
Yeah.
Therefore, that to me would tilt it. I think when you go to the personal intangibles, they're both wonderful young men. Both of them outstanding. I've never heard anybody say anything negative about Arch Manning, the young man that he is. Never heard a word of it. Everybody seems to think that he doesn't walk on water, but it's close out there in Texas. Well, he walks across the Colorado River into Bubba Land, I guess is what they say. But he's on the bridge when he does that. But you can say all the other intangibles are even, but the one thing that DJ Lagway has, he's going to be here 2025 and 2026.
Well, Franz, he may be here 3 more years. How do you know?
Could be. My guess is he's here 2, and I believe, the more I've looked at this, buddy, and I wrote this week, I think Florida's I think Florida's is a 10-win team. CBS says that Florida's ceiling is 10-2, which they say would get the Gators into the playoffs.
I agree with both of those. I do.
I think the Gators. I think 10-2 this year. And my gosh, I keep going down these. I keep going down these rosters, buddy, and looking at what Florida's got and opposing that to every team on the Florida schedule. Yeah. And I got to tell you what, Florida matches up with every single team on the schedule. And in most cases, matches up in a superior way to every team on the schedule.
Yeah.
You can point to certain things and say, well, Garrett Nussmeier has more experience than DJ Lagway. Not really. Garrett Nussmeier started 1 year for a team that had no running game, so he had to throw the ball 80 times a game. So what? Who cares?
Yeah.
On and on and on.
Well, let me say this about you. I want to get this on the record. I've known you for a while. We're going to bring Loren in here in a minute if he's around yet. And that is that you may call Franz a homer, me a homer, whatever, but yet every time Florida's had a championship team, Franz has seen it and called it. And people say, oh, here he goes again. He kept telling you about this basketball team all year. I'm telling you all, they were really good. They couldn't win it all. And people went, yeah, sure, Franz. And he told you about the Gator football team back in the day, and he talked me into not picking Ohio State the night before the game, and he was right about that. So he has an eye for championships. So
told you in 2008 that told everybody in 2008. And it was funny. I'm going to go off the reservation for a moment here. We're at the Heisman Trophy, ceremonies in 2008. And I'm there, and this young lady, who I won't say her name, from the Dallas Morning News, tries to tell me, well, Tim Tebow would be the 4th or 5th best quarterback in the Big 12. Mm-hmm. And I just looked at her and I said, you got a great job, young lady, but I said, don't blow it by being an idiot. And she said, what do you mean by that? And then proceeded to tell me where she went to school. And I said, and your point is? And I said, here's the thing. I said, I've been around a long time. I've seen a lot of really good quarterbacks in my life. And I said, Tim Tebow would not be the second best quarterback in any league. And she said, well, we'll see down at the Orange Bowl. I said, yes, we will. And didn't we see it? Mm-hmm. Tim Tebow was the dominant player on the field. And, Mr. Landry had all those great stats for an Oklahoma team that ran through no defense whatsoever. people tend to forget what Tim Tebow did was against SEC defenses.
Exactly. All right,
And-
friends, let me do this commercial real fast here. We're on the screen. We'll come back to you and your comment. I didn't mean to interrupt you. And then we'll come back and get Loren. I've got the latest odds on the Heisman Trophy winner. I want you and Loren to pick your winner and put your money down. First, let me tell you about these people. At Meldon Law, you see it on the screen. There's a QR code. If you'd like to know more about it, you should, because you're all going to need, at some point in your life, a lawyer. If you need an injury lawyer, this is your guy right here. These are your people. Meldon Law. They won't back down. They're also great Gators. And as we know, we had a Bon Voyage party the other night for Jeffrey, who's off for 7 weeks to the hills of all kinds of Europe, Asia, and places. He's going to have a wonderful time. He likes to have a good time, but he also likes to work hard. He likes to root his Gators home and support them in every way. So if you need any law help, he's your guy, Meldon Law. 4 locations to serve, Ocala, Gainesville, Lake City, Williston. Or if you just like to go in and talk a little ball with him, or go to his Facebook page and log on this fall, because he's got great giveaways for nothing. You'll want to be a part of that. Meldon Law, they will not back down. Franz Beard is with us. We'll be talking soon to Loren Meadows coming up next on the program. We've got a poll here. We're going to go over. I think we may have Loren right now. It looks like him. Is he on the road again? Are you on the road again? Or where are you now?
Yeah.
Are you in the continental United States?
Yeah, I am. I'm in north of San Antonio at a friend's house. So I've been all over, man. Was in Nashville for a few days, Austin for 10 days, and this kind of culminates the trip. I got to go to Charleston, South Carolina next week, and then I'm done. But I've been on Central Time for so long. It's wild. So
you're on my time. I'm on Central Time. Here's the deal, Loren. We're going to start a contest. Where in the world is Loren Meadows? And I'm going to get a little pin cushion with maps. And
right.
so where is he tonight?
For the next few weeks, I'll be in Gainesville. Thank God. So
okay, we're glad you're going to be back home. We miss you.
Home.
Are you in New Braunfels, by the way?
I am in. No. Where am I? North of, I'm at the same when I came down for the Final Four. I am in Spring Branch, Texas, which is about 20 miles north of San Antonio.
Okay, so I was going to tell you, if you're in New Braunfels, you got to go to Cooper's Barbecue. Okay,
maybe we talked about going to get some barbecue. Maybe I'll talk to him about going this weekend. I'll be here through the 4th, and then I fly home Sunday. So,
well, you can always go to Leon Springs to the original Rudy's.
Okay,
do that. Bring home a couple of jugs of their sauce.
Okay,
goes with everything.
Here we are talking Texas barbecue. Well, anyway, Loren, it's good to see you again, and
yes,
we're having some interesting conversations this week. I'm sorry you haven't been with us for some of them, and we get to this point sometimes where we kind of drift off into la la land. Because when you start going through the Gators and the inventory, what they got, we did this Wednesday night with Allie, and I believe who else was on this show? Anyway, we were talking about Gator football. Urban was on that show for one thing.
Okay.
And Carlton was on it. And we started talking about what was ahead and the evaluation of talent and stacking up the units against other units and the evaluations, and then topped off by the good news from my source that told me he felt very confident. He said, bet the farm that DJ is going to start the season on time and finish the season on time. In other words, his health's going to be okay. I started thinking about, well, what if? What if? And you can get yourself going after a while when you say, well, what's wrong with this team? Let's look at each room. Let's talk about the players. And it's very hard to not be optimistic. By the time the night was over, I said, time out, guys. Let's don't pick up to win the national championship yet. Okay.
Yeah.
They're going undefeated. Right. But you can make a case for them for being 10-2. You can make a case for them. And what if things go right for them? I watched the replay of the Ole Miss game the other night, and I watched the LSU early. That Ole Miss game, Ole Miss had time after time, of so many chances late in the game to score and couldn't put it in the end zone. The defense stopped them. So they thought they had a good quarterback. He couldn't get it done. And so you see guys like Thornton. You forget Thornton had 2 interceptions in that game. Amazing. So if the good things go good, friends, if they get some breaks and they are better on defense than they have been, they start making some stops. DJ has the kind of year we think he will, and of course the breakout players they got on offense, the offensive line, which is stout, and even the front seven. You can make yourself a case for it, Loren, real quick and say, I think this is a playoff team. I think they'll go 10-2.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it. We've talked about it at length. Talked about it with Rob Brown. You and I have had discussions. Franz and I have had discussions. Everybody makes a big deal about the schedule, but the schedule is almost a godsend. But what I'm gonna tell people is, I think that when you look at this year, and it's nice that it happens early. They got the 2 paycheck techs, as Franz likes to call them, and then they go to LSU. And it's going to be a night game. It's going to be hot. It's going to be jumping. If DJ Lagway outduels Garrett Nussmeier and the Gators come away with a win, look out. And I think you will point to that moment where you're like, okay, this is when we really thought this thing could go down. And if they get LSU, I think they're on their way. The way they finished the season last year with the confidence that group is playing with, that LSU game, that 3rd week of the season at LSU, could be the turning point. We talk about the basketball team. I think that win at Auburn was like, all right, here they go. And they're on their way. They had the little slip up at Georgia, but after that, it was just smooth sailing. I see the same thing with LSU. So if they get the LSU game, I think it's going to be a fun season, and it could even be a 12-0, 11-1. I'm betting a 10-2 as well. But I think even 9-3 gets you in the playoff with that schedule if it's the right 9 and the right 3.
That's correct.
They get LSU, this thing is going to go downhill. And what I mean downhill, in a good way downhill. They're going to be off and running.
I gotta agree with that, and I gotta tell you something. I keep telling people, LSU is going. When you lose 11 ball games over 3 years, which they've done, 7 of which were with the greatest college quarterback, I think, since Tebow. I just got to tell you what. What Jaden Daniels did in 2 years with no running game, and he was the running game, and he was the passing game, and they still lost 7 ball games. I'm not convinced that Brian Kelly is the coach that, they thought they were getting this guy that was going to come in there and just blow the SEC away when he came from Notre Dame. And you look at what he did at Notre Dame. He beat the teams he's supposed to beat, and he never beat the teams he needed to beat. For the most part, that was his career at Notre Dame. You look at what he's done at LSU. He beats the teams he's supposed to beat most of the time. Lost to Florida, of course. But he doesn't beat the teams he's got to beat. Doesn't beat Alabama, doesn't beat Georgia, doesn't beat the teams that he's got to beat to be the team, to be the coach that they want him to be. And I think Florida goes in there, and I think the Gators are going to play. It's a business trip for the Gators. These guys are coming off of 2 weeks earlier having to play Clemson. That's Clemson with a P in there. Don't forget there is a P in Clemson. Just ask anybody in the state of South Carolina if you don't believe it.
Yeah.
They're coming off of that game with Clemson, and then they're going to play Florida 2 weeks later. I got to tell you what, Florida's going to be in really good shape for that ball game.
Okay.
Really good shape for that ball game.
All right. I think we're all getting excited about it, and I think Texas is it for me. I know LSU is a tough place to play and all that. It's a big game. I just think playing Texas is the bomb, and in that and beating those guys would be fabulous. And so we'll see because they're going to be number one. I don't unless they lose the opening game, that could happen, I guess.
Oh, they getting beat. They getting beat week 1 at Ohio State.
Maybe we'll see. Could be. Going to be interesting opening season. I want to get to this poll, guys. This is the latest line on. I'm hearing some noise someplace. Okay. The latest line, betting line, and I'm going to ask you guys to take your money out. Okay, your mythical money. You're going to have to spend $1,000 on somebody. Okay. And I'm going to give you your top 8 or 9, all right? And I'm not going to hear, and I'm going to give you the odds, okay? Okay, let's start out with Arch Manning is number 1 at 5-1. Garrett Nussmeier is 8-1. Klubnik at Clemson is 9-1, and Allard at Penn State is 12-1. Now, Smith is not a quarterback, so he's not going to be in there. Then you get down to Lagway at 17-1 and Sellers at 19-1. Put your $1,000 down, or you can split it 2 ways. You can put 5 and 6 or 6 and 4. And just go, Loren, who you picking?
I don't think he's the best of the bunch, but I think the way the schedule works out, and should he LSU is, I think, 0-5, 0-6 in openers. Clemson is 2-5 in openers. But if Cade Klubnik gets that LSU win, I just don't see anything stopping them. It's about wins and losses, and I don't really see Clemson. Maybe they may drop a game, but I see them probably running the table 11-1. I actually would put my money on Cade Klubnik. That is not an indictment on him being the best. But you said if I got to spend my money, I'm going to go with Cade Klubnik at Clemson.
Cade Klubnik. I would never have picked that one for you. Franz?
I would pick Cade Klubnik and put 600 on him. And
you cheating, Franz. Are we going all in, or we
going? No. I said you can split it.
He said we can split it.
Okay. Well, then give me my bad. Then I ain't going all in on Cade. I'm with Franz. Give me 600 and give me 400 on. I would actually go 400 on Arch Manning.
Okay.
I'll go 600 on Cade Klubnik. And then another $400 I'm going to split evenly between Arch Manning. And the reason being is no Manning has ever won a Heisman Trophy. I mean, you look, Archie had a Heisman Trophy season and didn't win. Peyton had a Heisman Trophy season and they gave it to Mr. Woodson up at Michigan, and he didn't deserve it. But he's a great player, just the same, no question about it. But Peyton Manning was the better player that year. And Eli never won it at Ole Miss. Nobody's going to win a Heisman at Ole Miss. Just ain't going to happen. And if Arch Manning had Earl Campbell's size 55 thighs, I'd say he might win it because Texas and running backs tend to do real well. But, Texas doesn't have a history of a lot of Heisman Trophy people either. Right. I look back to 1969. They had a quarterback named James Street who, quite frankly, if they had thrown the ball more than 3 times a game, would have won the Heisman Trophy. I mean, talk about an absolute magician running the wishbone. Buddy, would you say that James Street ranks right up there with maybe the best 2 or 3 wishbone quarterbacks of all time?
Probably top 5. I remember that Darryl Rose said when you throw the football, 3 things that happen and 2 of them are bad.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. And you heard that a lot back then. Yeah.
But I would go. I'd put 200 on DJ Lagway. I mean, I got to tell you what. If he beats LSU and he beats Miami and he beats the Maggots in College Station and then beats Texas, he's going to win it, guys. I'm going to tell you right now.
Y'all are all over the place. I can't keep up with you. I thought we were splitting it one time, and now we're splitting it three ways. Then we didn't split it. I'm confused.
Give me Klubnik, and I put 400 on Arch because
you only split it one time. So
I think if Arch is close, the media, I think the voters will be into that. I know you got to vote, buddy, but you're not the only one voting. And I think Franz hit on something. I think before the world ends, I think a Manning will win the Heisman. I think the rest of the guys have girls. So I think Arch is the last hope for the family. So,
well, let me put it this way. You got a better chance to find a Heisman Trophy winner in Knoxville than you do to find a Heisman Trophy winner among the Manning family, I believe.
Well, I'm going to do it like this since y'all decided best. I'm just going to take my first $100 and bet $1 on all 100 of the candidates. That's how y'all going to do it. Break it up, split it up. No, mine's real simple. I'm going with Garrett Nussmeier, 500, and DJ Lagway, 500. Those are my two guys right there.
Okay.
Nussmeier's going to lose 5 ball games this year.
Well, you know what? That's your pick.
That's good, Fred.
You go ahead with that. You go ahead with that, and I'll stick with what I got. All right. Yeah. What's all? But anyway, this is just way too early. This is not our official poll tonight.
I understand, but I'll tell you what. Garrett Nussmeier will have 2 significant losses in the first 3 weeks of the season, and his Heisman Trophy chances will be as good as Peyton's were, and Eli's were, and Archie's were.
Garrett Nussmeier can't play defense. Okay, so whatever. Bottom line is he's a heck of a quarterback, I think.
Yes, he is.
I'm giving this. So anyway, let's leave it at that, and what the heck, we'll go from there. And getting back to the area of, by the way, how good is Smith of Ohio State? He's terrific.
Really good.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
As the resident receiver on the team, on the Gatorade team, he's pretty good.
Yeah,
Jeremiah Smith, Ryan Williams at Alabama. I got to tell you what. If I were them, I'd get a really great lawyer and challenge the NFL. 3 years before we'll draft you, edict, because both those guys are NFL receivers right now, and really, really capable. And I think Florida's got a guy named Dallas Wilson.
I was just going to say, don't forget about Dallas Wilson,
who may end up being every bit as good as the other two, which is another reason why, buddy, I wouldn't count Mr. Lagway out of the Heisman race. Which, like I said, if he goes 4-0, 5-0 out the chute, you can give it to him.
Well, he's got those 4 scorched earth Saturdays. The starting game 3. Which you just got to say, how could you come out alive of those 4 games? Easiest being Miami, at that point in time, probably. But I mean, they got a brutal 4-game stretch. If they could somehow come out of there with 3 wins and win their first 2 and then go 5-1, they'd be in great shape at this point in time. I think Lagway's capable of doing a lot of great things. We hadn't even begun to see what he can do yet, especially. I was just watching plays like the other day on the touchdown pass that he threw to the running back, and it was my boy, my running back,
Jaden Ball.
Jaden Ball. That ball, you get that ball quick to him, and ball just took off on left and flat. He's got players, and the whole idea of Urban's offense was to get the ball to players in space who are good and let them do their thing. Florida's got some players in space. And by the way, that play that he ran was really well blocked. I want to
Yeah.
get around to talking
It was
about that
well
in a minute.
designed. It was great design too with the
Yeah, it
motion.
was. Yeah, it was.
Great play design.
Yeah, it was. And so, I mean, what if all those things go right? I mean, they've got the talent level. I don't know where I can downgrade them. I've gone through the units, and there's even players we don't know about yet. We haven't even seen yet. They're going to be playmakers. The skill level, and I think the organization's better. The defense is definitely better. I'm just very high on this football team, and I think they have if they get a little lucky, no telling what they could do.
Yeah, I agree. I think that you look at. I mean, I would say the weak point I mean, if you had to point to it, I think it would be the D line if you had to point to it. But I
Mhm.
think they're a year older. They're really young, but talented. I mean, it's more like youth, not necessarily talent. And if you just look at the way that unit came on late, you would have to think that they're starting to figure it out. I mean, I've been told by one staffer they were a very disconnected group on defense early in the season last year. That seems to have corrected itself, whether through new hires or attrition or whatever you want to call it. But we saw a bunch those last 4 games. That was a very well connected defense, played defense on a string, which is the way you're supposed to play defense, play physical, everybody doing their assignments. So, I mean, you really can't. The kicking game is going to be strong. Yeah, they lost Crawshaw, but the kid from Michigan is just as good. I mean, those little, Trey Smack is solid, was really sharp late in the year. And yeah, I mean, they've got everything. And if guys like Trey Wilson and others can just stay healthy throughout the season, you talk about having those guys for 10, 11, 12 ball games. DJ Lagway is going to be hard to scout because you can't scout the legs. I mean, his ability to affect the game with his legs. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, Franz, you know it. They got a lot out there to play with.
Well, here's the other thing to think about too. When you mentioned a key thing, which is the defensive line, Caleb Banks. You watch this year. There was a guy named John Brown who played for Lakeland back when Lakeland won 45 straight games, and you measured his success by the number of bodies that were on the ground trying to tackle him when he got into the backfield. That's going to be Caleb Banks this year. He is in the best shape of his life, unbelievably good shape. He's got his attitude focused. He turned down the NFL. He would have been a third-round draft pick at the very worst this past year if he'd gone out. He bet on himself, saying, I can go back there and have the kind of year with this defense to get into the first round and be set for life. And that is what this young man is going to do. Caleb Banks, mark my words, is going to have an All-American season, and I think he's going to end up being the best defensive lineman in the Southeastern Conference this
And
year.
he
I don't
looked that
think that's
way.
an exaggeration.
He looked the other way at the end of the year. I just watched him on against Ole Miss. He had a big game against Ole Miss. All right, guys, we got about a minute each, minute and a half each. We should pick out a player. And Franz, you kind of talked about yours, but pick out your player maybe that we don't know as well, that you just want to say, I have to bet on a player, the Florida squad, maybe not as well known as others. Loren, who would you pick?
I mean, he's known, but when you go down the list, he kind of they mention him, but I'm going to go with Miles Graham. I think Miles Graham has a breakout year at linebacker, athletic, comes from great stock. We know the family, but mom is just as involved in his development, just got all the tools, didn't complain, never, ever even looked at transferring when the minutes weren't there early, just waited his time. And we saw the production, like I said, late in the season. What I am going to say, buddy, is I'm trying to impress you with the background, and you didn't even mention it.
I can't tell what it is.
It's Masters flags. I'm trying to.
Oh, I couldn't see it. I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah, I'm trying. I was trying to get some brownie points to impress.
I'm impressed. I couldn't tell what it was.
My friend, I'm staying with the Gailey family, Ryan and Tess. And Ryan, so shout out to Ryan and Tess.
Yeah,
Gailey.
Ryan, I'm impressed. Ryan,
to work at Augusta National. So
all right,
I thought you'd get a kick out of that.
One of my most heavenly spots, as you know.
Yes,
I
sir.
spent many a week there. I love it. Tell him I said congratulations on good taste, okay?
Yeah. He has a whole bourbon room that and this is part of the bourbon room. So nice
All
setup.
right. Yeah, very nice. Franz, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to give you mine. It's not going to be an unknown guy. I'm going to go a different route. I've just got to say that the guy that I think, well, go ahead. Let you do yours and I'll do mine. Go ahead.
The guy I'm going to tell you about, I wanted to say Jake Slaughter, but I think somebody else.
Well, that's who I was going to say.
I'll let you say it.
Yeah.
Because I thought that somebody might say that. So the guy I'm going to tell you about is Tyreek Sapp. And I got to tell you what.
He's a good one.
Tyreek Sapp, you watch him in the LSU game. Here's a guy that they kept moving in and playing at nose tackle on some of the plays because they'd move Caleb Banks out to the outside where he just flat out ran over that supposedly All-American left tackle they had, and Caleb Banks just freight trained him. And Tyreek Sapp just made their center look like he was graduate out of the Pee Wee leagues because he was so quick. And you watch him splitting people, getting his arm under people. Wow, he is. I think I talked to him when I was on campus one day during basketball season, and I saw him, and I said, I believe you're going to have the year of your life. And he said, that's why I'm here, to have the year of my life. And you know something? I think he's going to have it.
Good player, really good. Well, Jake Slaughter, I started thinking today, is going to be one of the most decorated offensive linemen in the history of the school. Because he's going to be All-American again. He ought to be the winner of the Remington Trophy for sure. He's probably going to be a top 10, 12, 15 draft pick. He will be a nominee for the Outland Award. He's just going to have so many awards, and he may be the best center in the country. He does everything. He's the highest grading center in college football. So shout out to my Ocala guy, Jake Slaughter. He's the guy I'm going to be watching. We got 15 seconds apiece. Final thoughts, Franz?
Jake Slaughter is also probably the smartest human being in college football, period.
Yeah. Loren?
Best part of the summer, come Monday, college football 26. All my gamers, go out and get it. It's back, new and improved. Can't wait till I get home Sunday. Monday night, I'm going to kiss the wife because I haven't seen her in a while, but she's going to have to sit there and work on her iPad while I break the new game in. So
is that EA?
EA Sports, College Football 26.
All right. Am I ranked?
What's that?
Am I ranked anywhere, Bob?
You number one. You number one. Yeah, no doubt.
Shout outs to Marcia and condolences on her mom.
Yeah, for sure.
You outkicked your coverage by about 86 yards on that.
No doubt about it. Yeah.
He knows how we love Marcia. We love Marcia for sure.
Yeah, she's been up in Dayton for a few weeks, but she's actually flying back to Gainesville tonight. So
that was the 98-yard punt against the Jets when you landed her.
It rolled right up the two and stopped.
I got to go, guys. Great job. Thank you,
guys.
Bye, y'all.
Great seeing you.
Take care. All right, guys. Thank you. Good night. All right, folks, I want to wrap up the program now and tell you about our friends. We'd like to end up the show with them. And hold on one second. I got my copy out here. All right, I had it ready to go. And let's see. Here we go. Yeah, I can say it by heart. I know it that well. Titan MRI and Imaging, of course, is our sponsors. And we're always glad to have them on mass and talk about them because they do so much right. Among other things, if you need to go get an MRI, we highly recommend you call them and go see them because they have lots of options for you. You can get your appointments at nighttime if you can't go in the daytime. One of the great things they got those special cages you can get into where you don't get claustrophobic. They're oversized, and you can get in there with the assurance that you're going to be able to breathe, and we know how that is when you get in one of those and you're claustrophobic. So we suggest you check in Northwest Florida They have lots of places you can go. Of course, it was started Highfield in 1997 by Joe Calorio. He's back now. Titan MRI Imaging has 3 locations, 2 in Gainesville with Park Avenue, and now Millennium Center and 1 in Lake City, serving all of Columbia County and Valdosta. They offer the same great customer service, accept insurance. You can go to their self-pay program if you want to. They offer MRIs, CAT scans, X-rays, ultrasounds, and what have you. Check them out. Titan MRI Imaging, coming to Ocala soon. Thanks to Franz and thanks to Loren. Good show tonight. Appreciate that. Executive producer Brendan Martin, always standing by and lurking by. He does about 100 shows a day. Getting to be much in demand by people because he does such a great job. He's all happens to be my son, which I'm grateful for. So have a good day. Happy 4th of July to you folks. And we'll catch you on the other side of the holiday. Be well, be safe.